All right, we are on to 2-3, subtracting integers. Let's go ahead and begin. During flight, the space shuttle may be exposed to temperatures as low as -250 degrees Fahrenheit and as high as 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit. To find the difference in those temperatures, you need to know how to subtract integers with different signs. You can model the difference between two integers using a number line. When you subtract a positive number, the difference is less than the original number, so you move to the left. To subtract a negative number, move to the right. All right, let's go ahead and look at some examples. But first, a quick picture for you of my lovely kitty who has been interrupting some of our lessons by stepping on the keyboard. Very cute. She's not trying to do anything wrong. She's just very interested in following the arrow as it moves around the screen. All right, let's move on. Example number 1, we're going to model integer subtraction using a number line. All right, we have 3 minus 8. Okay, we know that we start at 0. First, we move 3 units in the positive direction. Then we stop, and we're going to move 8 units in the negative direction. We end up at -5. Notice that when you take 3 and subtract something larger than it, 3 minus 8, it has to be less than 0. I actually look at this and go, 8 minus 3 is 5, and then recognize that that has to be less than 0, so it's a -5. Alrighty, let's look at B. We have a -4 minus 2, starting at 0. Let's move 4 spaces to the negative direction, and we're also going to move 2 spaces to the negative direction. So here we did -4 minus 2 more, getting us to -6. Alrighty, let's do one more problem. 2 minus a -3. This is a little tricky. We're going to start at 0, and of course move 2 in the positive direction. And then it says we're going to minus a -3. This is very interesting. When we subtract a negative, we're actually moving to the right. So here, we're doing 1, 2, 3 more, getting to +5. One way to remember this, and I'm going to go ahead and pull out my red pen here so that we can remember this, is when we have two negatives next to each other, it actually turns out to be a positive. Well, let's go ahead and look at our helpful hint for this section. If the number being subtracted is less than the number it is subtracted from, the answer will be positive. If the number being subtracted is greater, the answer will be negative. Okay, let's keep on going with this to make sure that we're getting a full understanding. All right, example 2, we are going to now be subtracting integers by adding the opposite. This is my favorite way to do this. And the reason it works is that adding and subtracting are inverse or opposite operations. They undo each other. Instead of subtracting a number, you can always just add its opposite. Let's look at how this works. When we have 5 minus 9, we can actually think of it as 5 plus -9. So instead of +5 minus +9, we have +5 plus -9. Really what's happening here is that we are just inserting a plus right there. All right, well that's easy enough. We did this yesterday. I'm going to model it with just some counters. I really like using counters, so red will be my negative and yellow will be my positive. So starting here, it looks like we do have 9 negatives. And we do have 5 positives. Of course, we can go ahead and cross out our 0 pairs. Remember that a positive and negative cancel each other out, and we end up with 4 negatives. Okay, so let's switch the next problem to an addition problem. Here we have -9 minus a -2. Like I said before, and I'll use my red pen to remind us again, when we have two minus signs right next to each other, that is a positive sign. Okay, this is mainly working for adding and subtracting, okay? So remember, it's something that we use in that context. All right, so negative 9 plus 2. Again, we can use some counters to figure that out. Let's go ahead and have our negatives be red. And this time they are gigantic. Excellent. Okay. So we have negative 9 here, and then we do have our two positives. I'm sure you know the next step. We're going to go ahead and cross out our 0 pairs, which are the positives and negatives that cancel each other out. And what do we have left over? 7 negatives. The answer is negative 7. Last one. Here we have a negative 4 minus 3. The way to turn this into an easy addition problem is to just put that positive, our adding sign, right here. Okay, so now we have negative 4 plus negative 3. Well, let's break out the counters again. This time, oh, they're really small this time. That's okay. 1, 2, 3, 4 negatives, and then we have 3 more negatives for a total of 7 negatives. Great. Let's move on to the next example set. All right, we're going to be evaluating expressions with integers. Once again, we're great at evaluating expressions. So when we are evaluating a minus b for each set of values, let's go ahead and get that done. Here they want a to be negative 6. Okay, a is negative 6. And they want b to be 7. So b is 7. But let's change that to an addition problem. So I'm going to go ahead and put my adding sign in. We're adding negative 6 plus negative 7 now, instead of negative 6 minus 7. Great. I could definitely do counters here. I'm going to model something different. Since my signs are the same, I can simply add up 6 plus 7. And when I add up 6 plus 7, I do get 13. I know my answer has to be negative because both of these were negative. Negative 13. All right, one more. Now A is 14 and B is negative 9. And they did a great job. So A is 14, B is negative 9. But, and using my red pen, we'll recognize that the two negatives here, the minus and the negative, become a plus. This is the easiest problem in the world. 14 plus 9 is 23. We're done. But let me model it with our rule. I know that they both have the same sign. Oops, sorry, that's a 14. They both have the same sign, so I can just quickly find their sum. I know that 23 should be positive because both of my numbers are positive. All right, you guys, it is time. I'm going to have you go ahead and do numbers 1 through 49 today, but please only do the odd numbered problems. This means you'll be doing numbers 1, 3, 5, 7, and so on. Go ahead and pause this video now so you can work on your problem set. And here are our answers for the guided and independent practice sections. Please grade your responses. If you need more time, go ahead and pause this video. I'm going to move on to the next section of answers. This is practice and problem solving. All right, always feel free to pause it if you need more time. But for now, thank you for another great day of work, and I will be signing off. This is Miss Mega, hoping that you are doing great on Advanced Track.